Hey investor friends, I'm Michelle Markey and today I'm covering the top 7 ways to boost your credit score based on the FICO score algorithm so you can get almost any kind of credit card or loan with the best and lowest possible interest rates. And the almighty FICO score is super important when lenders are considering how good of a borrower you'll be. And I'll break down the components of what goes into this credit score number. I've been able to achieve and stay in the 800 plus range for many years. If you're like me and want to have the best credit score possible, I'd love if you could please smash that like button and please subscribe because I'm here to show you how you can achieve maximal excellence. By following these no frills tips, you can achieve a bodacious credit score too, dude. Before we get into the tips, I gotta give you some real talk on what it really means to have a good FICO score. And if we take a look at this Experian pie chart of the most common breakdown of FICO scores across Americans, we'll see that they define having a good credit score as being in the 670 to 739 range. But actually, in my opinion, you gotta aim for more of the 740 and above range to be in the very good to excellent or exceptional range, or the blue quadrants here. And this is important because it helps you qualify for the most competitive rates. So when we think about good, you really want to aim for 740 and up. I'll explain my tips in the context of what it means to have an excellent credit score in the range of 820 to 830, which is the range that I'm usually in. And number 1 is payment history, which makes up a whopping 35% of your credit score. And paying your debt in terms of credit cards or other loans on time every month is the most important thing you could possibly do. And better yet, pay it in full every month. And I know that can be a little hard to do if you have student loans or a mortgage, but do your best to pay it down as much as you can. And if you struggle with time management, you can always automate the payment of your credit card, utility, and other bills in your checking account, as well as just make sure you have enough in your checking account to cover all of your bills so you don't have to worry about missing a payment or getting overdraft fees. And then the other thing to keep in mind is if you miss only one payment, that seriously hurts the paying on time component of your score, because if you take 3 credit cards in the span of a year, that gives you 36 payment opportunities. So if you miss one, that means you paid 35 out of 36, giving you still a 97% rating on the score component, and that causes you to be in the not good category according to Credit Karma here. So I recommend that you always pay on time no matter what. Number 2, the amount of debt you have makes up 30% of your credit score and has 2 main components of the amount of credit used and the available credit you have, or also known as credit limit. And these two are judged in the form of a credit utilization rate, where the lower, the better. For example, if you have an outstanding credit card balance of $1,000 and you have an available credit limit of $100,000, that's a utilization rate of only 1%. You want to keep this rate lower than 9% if possible, according to Credit Karma's range here. And a few tips to go with this is that I always try to keep the lowest amount of credit card balance, and I always pay my credit cards in full every month within the 28 days of a statement period, so that I never have to worry about having a high credit utilization rate. Number 3, length of credit history makes up 15% of your credit score, and the longer you've had a credit card open, the better. And I say credit card because most of us don't get mortgages when we're age 18, but we do get student loans quite often, and the only thing is we end up paying those off and then they eventually fall off our credit report. So the best thing that we've got going to have as long as possible of an account of credit open is in the form of a credit card. And the only thing is, it takes a long time to reach excellent status, like 25 years. So this is why I'm kind of sad, because I'm only in the good status of having more than a decade of having credit cards. And that makes me feel a little bit sad because I'd love to be excellent in this range. And the other thing you can do if you want to get started on having a credit history longer is get added to your parents' credit card as an authorized user, as long as they can trust you to be responsible about it, and they also are responsible in paying their credit cards off. So make sure that it's a win-win for both of you if you want to be an authorized user, but that's a good way to get started early in building your credit. To be in the green with Credit Karma's range, you want to have your average age of open accounts be at least 7 years or more. And the other thing to do, ideally, is to not close any of your credit cards if you can help it. And if you don't want to deal with having an annual fee in the credit cards, like sometimes I've just gotten credit cards so I could take advantage of rewards, and then I end up closing them after some period of time. But some of the things you can keep in mind when doing this is if you don't want to have an annual fee card, you could call up your credit card company and ask them to switch you to a no-fee credit card. And the other important thing is to make sure they transfer as much of the credit limit over to your new card as much as possible. Or if you don't want to have an alternative card, you can still transfer that credit over to an existing credit card you already had open. So you don't have to necessarily get a new card. You can just transfer over the credit limit. And don't worry about the temporary ding that closing a card has to your credit score. I've done this plenty of times, and even though I see a little bit of a dip, I've managed to stay in the 800 range despite this. Number 4, new credit accounts makes up 10% of your credit score. And you can generally open a few credit cards every now and then, but don't open too many within a similar time frame, otherwise you start being rejected. And also if you're looking to get a new car loan or mortgage very soon, it's not a good look to open too many credit cards before you go and ask for that bigger loan. And another thing to keep in mind is that it's helpful to try to use your different credit cards every now and then. Otherwise, you get a letter in the mail saying that if you don't make a purchase, it will be closed on you. And I've let this happen sometimes with some of my neglected cards because I realized that some of the rewards weren't appealing to me and I could be better focusing my reward earning in other kinds of credit cards. But in general, make sure that if you do open a new kind of credit card, that it's one that you could see yourself using for a long time and that you think will be useful and that you think will be practical when it comes to redeeming rewards. If you've opened 2 or less new accounts in the last couple of years, that would be excellent. And per Credit Karma, if you've had a total amount of accounts of at least 11 or 20 or more, that's generally considered to be a good thing. Number 5, credit mix makes up another 10% of your credit score, and it's a combination of the different types of credit you have. The score generally rewards you for having diverse kinds of credit other than credit cards, like if you get a car loan or student loan or a mortgage. And the only thing to keep in mind is that you don't want to have so many new accounts that you get a lot of hard inquiries, which can negatively affect your score. So try to have 2 or less hard inquiries on your account within the past couple of years, as well as with some new changes that happened in 2020. I've heard that having personal loans can ding your credit score a little bit, so just be careful if you are in need of getting those loans. Number 6 is don't be afraid to ask for an increase in your credit limit. And the reason for this is because if you've been managing your debt well and maintaining a good track record and score, go ahead and call your credit card company asking them that you'd like to increase your credit limit, especially if you're looking to make a new big purchase soon so you can keep your credit utilization rate low. And sometimes if you don't use enough credit, they start gradually taking it away, so this is a fine balance to maintain. Number 7, monitor your credit report and score regularly for any significant changes, because if there's anything wrong on there, it can seriously handicap you when you're trying to apply for new loans and credit cards. And make sure you do things like check that you don't have any derogatory marks from debt collectors per Credit Karma, and also if you find any errors on your credit report, make sure you dispute this as soon as possible. And you can learn how to do this by visiting this official US government article from the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, or also known as CFPB, and they explain how you can dispute errors with the major credit reporting companies like Equifax, Experian, and Transunion. And it's a very helpful guide so you can make sure that your credit report is always correct. By adopting these best practices, you can achieve a pretty great credit score, if not in the 800 plus range as well. And what did you think? I'd love to hear from you in the comments about if you found these tips to be helpful for you and what questions you might have. And if you enjoyed this video or learned something, please like and subscribe. And I wish you well on your journey towards financial freedom. Till next time.